So yeah, we're here to talk a little. I wanted to share something with you on some of the reflections I've had on stuff like the digital economy. We're all part of it somehow, and we all have brands we represent. We all have teams we're trying to set up to work properly in the age of digital, to make sure that the companies and maybe our own careers have I'm going to walk in here by the chairs, to have more green in our numbers and for our companies, brands, publishers, whatever you are, and avoid some of the red stuff. Because the digital economy is really fucking things up. Sorry for swearing, but it truly does, right? And I thought, is there any way to sort of convey the consequences of a shitty company set up in a bad way in the digital economy? And just, is there any way to sort of illustrate the impact of it? And since I'm Swedish, I thought I would pick two formerly Swedish companies. Does anyone not know of Minecraft here? Anyone? Yeah, you feel it. Everybody knows what Minecraft is. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's a digital conference after all. So they were bought recently, right? Did you know Microsoft bought them for $2.5 billion? $2.5 billion. The company was founded in 2009. That's like 4 or 5 years ago. And then you have another Swedish company. It's not Volkswagen, but Volvo. Founded in 1924, 20,000 employees. And they were bought by Geely, a Chinese company, for 1.8 billion. And I think that's sort of, if you look at that, to me, this is the consequence of, this is the essence of the digital economy. That's what's going to happen to many of the brands we're working for and our teams too. So, if you look back then, just a little bit here, in the old days, things worked a little bit differently, 200 years ago, where companies thought, we do one thing over here, like an engine, we set something up over here, and then it's going to have an impact on another part of the machine over here, and then another one. And it's a very linear way of thinking, and that's how we understood the world about 200 years ago. And many organizations and companies were set up in this way too, to be all about efficiency. All right? To make sure that these parts moved quicker and more efficiently all the time. And that model, this linear way of thinking, also assumes predictability. Right? That we can predict the future. Many organizations are set up in that way today. And I'm going to get to the other one here, which is the digital world we live in today. And I've been living in for a while. It looks more like that on the right-hand side. It's millions of things, actually 20 or so billion things, that are connected to about 7 billion people. And it's fucking chaos. It's really chaotic. There is no predictability. It's not an engine. It's not something you can easily address by, applying a 200-year-old mindset of approaching digital. And that's why some of these companies have no future at all. And so we're going to talk about how you do that. How do you succeed in all of this? Where mobile, these mobile devices we have, happen to be at the center of the internet of everything, and everyone, for that matter. So the question we should be asking ourselves today, and I hope you get some answers when you're here, otherwise all these presentations you've been to have probably been not very good. But what the hell should I do? There is no simple answer to any of this, obviously, but and I thought a lot that this is by the way, this is a personal reflection, not necessarily, I'm looking at my Adobe colleagues here, they don't know what's coming, but I think if you want to get this right and then succeed in this chaotic world of digital, you should focus on two things. One is that you should really understand what it means to design beautiful, engaging, meaningful experiences that matter to people where they are. All right? Very simple. Just design beautiful things that are easy and meaningful to use. The second thing is sort of a consequence of the first one, that you can never ever do that in your organization, in your teams, if you're not designing the organization alongside with it to work in all that chaos I showed you. It's just not going to work. You can invest all the money you want in any technology and spend millions and millions on it. Nothing good is going to come out of it. You will be gone in 5 years if you don't get the organization to follow you. I'm going to talk a little bit about that too. But let's start with the first one. Is that okay? Does that sound like a plan? Maybe? All right. So to get just a little bit quickly here, if you look at technology adoption over the last 100 or so years, you see some of these like technologies that we all pretty much have today. Like maybe the phone. Nobody has a phone. Does anyone have a phone like at home? I'm not sure. But the car, electricity, it took like 60, 70 years. This is the 1900s over here, and here we have like 1960, 70. It took almost 50, 60 years for these technologies to reach 100% adoption in the population, in the Western world. That's a long time, and that also gives your companies and your teams a lot of time to plan ahead for things. It's not like something is going to sneak up on you around the corner and just all of a sudden you're going to be out of business. There was no risk for that happening 50, 60, 70 years ago. And then, when I was born, like in 1976, I got my first VCR. I watched Star Wars on it like crazy. And, then a few years later on, the PC came along. The internet sort of like early 90s. And look at that. These technologies that are quite new to most of the people in this room, that took like 15, 20 years to even sort of get to 70, 80% adoption. But you see the time frames are shrinking. So from 75 or so years to 25 years to reach full adoption in a population. And companies here, it's still a long time to adapt to this. You don't need to do this instantly, like every second. But if you look at the latest additions to this stage, to the technology that's been introduced to our society, it's a little bit differently, right? If you look at the smartphone, it's like a straight line, almost 90 degrees, just pointing straight up. How the hell do you adopt and adapt to this? This is one of the reasons for this chaos you saw in the earlier slide. The smartphones. It's been around for 5, 6, 7 years. Now, I used to build these things myself, by the way, like in 1995. And it's called a personal computer, right? We sat with them. We still have them. Some of you may still have them. It's like tied to a desk in your home, at your house. And it's really clunky. It's 25 kilos, huge screen, keyboard, and chords and stuff. And then, today, the iPhone came out, and it's 625 times faster than that computer. It has a GPS that tells you where you are. There's a camera in it. If you want music, it's in there. You can make payments with it. And it follows you everywhere you go. This is the first true personal computer, not that one. Super personal. Another thing that has happened with these devices is that it's intimately connected to the internet. In fact, it could very well be the first Internet of Things that have reached mass adoption. And it's not just that it's connected to the internet, but it's the speeds that you can get content with it on. Do you know 4G allows you to roughly download 20 megabytes of information onto your device per second? Today in the 4G net, it's 18, but just for simplicity, 20. Does anyone here know how much it's going to be with a 5G net in 5 years from now? 4 years, actually. Any guess? 200 megabytes per second? Do I hear higher?
2 million.
Yeah.
1 gig.
Yeah, 1,000. It's 1 gigabyte per second in just a few years. This is already happening. Stuff you guys should prepare for that. Consumers like me and everybody in this room, you're expecting something completely different in these devices. It has to be instant, it has to be now, and it has to be relevant all the time. It's just going to get even worse. Or better, depending on which perspective you're looking at from. So one other cool thing that has happened, and I love this slide here, by the way. This over here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but down here in the corner, you have a tiny little pixel almost. That's the size, the relative size of the first phone that came out, first mobile phone, the screen size of it. And over here, you don't even have the newest phones, but that's a Galaxy S2. You know, and what this, you can see the development and the evolution of the screen here. The reason why I wanted to have it here is because it shows us, for the first time in like a year or two, we have a meaningful window in our pockets to the digital world. It's the first meaningful screen size that allows us to interact with the digital world. And you know, all of those things here have sort of created this perfect storm, if you will, that has given rise to a whole new generation. And I'm looking at some of you here, you know, you're not like 20 years old or millennials or even Generation C. You're like me, like 40, 50 maybe. You all use these phones just as much, just in a similar way like a millennial or a Generation C person would do. So that means we do everyday things like consuming news, booking a taxi, checking in on a flight, like everyday things has all of a sudden become ridiculously much more convenient. And we all do it on our mobile phones, and our expectations are super high. If you look at this, you know, the Generation C, it's for the connected generation, by the way. In the numbers, you know, and I love that one. This is a media day here, right? It's Mediatag, and I'm trying to pronounce this in a weird way. But, you know, 60% of all content that's digital out there is being consumed on mobile devices. 300 billion apps. That's a lot. You know, people are not even talking about the internet as the internet of web pages anymore. They're talking about, you know, a web of apps. Apps might disrupt the internet. There are 2.5 billion smartphones by the end of next year, roughly 1.5 billion tablets. That's almost, there's more than half the world's population. It's just increasing, ridiculous speeds. I think you can't see this one here, but I wanted to also show you the amount of time people in America and in the UK are spending on mobile phones. If you can't see it, 2011, this is in the USA, just 4 years ago, people spent an average of 48 minutes on the mobile phones. That's like 4 years ago. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like yesterday. And today, 2015, the number here says 2 hours and 51 minutes. Today. That's like in 4 years. The UK, the exact same trend. It was 31 minutes, 2011, and now it's 2 hours. And if you compare to every other thing on this list, desktop, TV, radio, print, magazines, you name it, either it's stagnating or it has completely flatlined. That's not where people are anymore. It's not about tomorrow. It's not in the future. It's already happened. The question, and you know, like if you're from a TV company or if you're like doing print and magazines, it doesn't mean they don't want your content. It just means that you have to build it so it's suitable for these devices where people have been so spoiled doing everyday things like consuming movies and content, booking cabs and whatever it is, whatever way they interact with your brand, you should probably be there. And you know, for those of you who do business, if you're a brand or so and you know sell stuff to China, it's even worse here. You know, it's like it's a mobile-only country. Desktop is people just spend like an average of 1 hour there and 2 hours on mobile phones. So I think this is really, I think interesting. So if you're a brand, if it's you guys, or if you have an organization, or if there are people in your company who doesn't understand this, they're risking basically the end of their company. I would say it's the end. And there's this hockey player who I think expressed it in a beautiful way, Wayne Gretzky, and he said, you should skate to where the puck is going to be, and not to where it's been. Like, don't go back. And one company that has done this is, do you know of this one? Have you heard of this? GoGoVan? Anyone? Nobody, right? It's because it's in China. They don't have a website to schedule packages and come and pick them up and send them. And the reason why I want to use this, by the way, this example from logistics, is because it allows you to get a different perspective on something that's sort of probably outside of your own industry. And you can see how a traditional logistics is not really an industry you think that's going to be disrupted or that they're digitally savvy or so, but they're messing up the whole industry. It's a mobile-only company, no website, and if you look at how they create, and they have 20,000 drivers, by the way, founded in 2013, 2 years ago. It's absolutely insane. And this is what the experience looked like. And I think I wanted to really show you something concrete here. This is the exact thing you see when you launch their app. And this is about sending a package somewhere. You click on the top one. You see it's very clean, right? It's completely adapted for the mobile phone. You click on the top one. Where am I going to pick you up, the package? I click on that, and what the phone does, this is an actual step-by-step guide to make a shipment on this app. It finds you immediately using your GPS, populates all the fields you need, then you fill out where you're going to go or where you want the package to be delivered. Second step is you select when you want it to be picked up. You can select really easily with your phone. It's huge icons. They're very clear, right? Do you want the driver to speak English? Yeah, maybe $5 more. And you see the price right here, $105. I click on this again, review my order, and I see the complete summary in a really clean, simple, minimalistic, super nice interface. And then the last step is find the driver. Click on that, and you see in real time that they're finding 1,400 drivers around where I happen to be. In 6 steps, and it takes about a minute. If you look at the time up there, I started at 3:58, and here it's 3:59, 1 minute. Super convenient, simple, full visibility. Now to another company that you know. These are like the kings. This is like their domain, right? FedEx, this is what they do. They're the masters of shipment. I'm going to shut up now and just take you through my experience. These are actual screenshots from doing the exact same thing here. End user license agreement. I'm going to be quiet. Maybe I have to talk a little bit here. Yeah, this is the actual landing screen where you're supposed to make a huge selection of different things. Primarily, I want to ship something, right? So I do that. I click on my create a shipment. Here's like an instruction of the interface. And if you need instructions on a mobile device on how to use it, you have designed it the wrong way. It's just that simple. You've done something really, really wrong. Yeah, and then, the fun thing is that you leave the app. It says loading. So you're being directed to a responsive website somewhere, and it takes like an hour to load it. Now check this out. I'm going to just speed through, but this is my experience of creating a shipment, like after 5 steps. Cookies, enter your from address and your recipients to, I know that, right? I know that. So, I do that and I sort of hit something accidentally and I get all these really red messages. Then I have to select, because I'm in the United Kingdom, I have to scroll down because it starts at A and I have to scroll all the way down to United Kingdom. Why not use the stupid GPS on the phone? I'm probably in the UK and probably should be populated with that. Probably, maybe. Then I have to select, you remember the other one, it's super simple, and here I have to select what type of package I want. And they're with details, the length and all that stuff. I continue, and I have to it took me an hour just to when do they pick it up? What does this mean? Really complicated. And, another pop-up, another, describe the content of your documents. And another, I don't even know what this is. I'm not even ready, and then at the very, very end, I get a full, there's a lot more, by the way, down here, payments, That's how it works. That's horrible. And this is their website. This is FedEx's website. Here are all their main areas that makes them, a shipment company. That's a multi-billion-dollar company here. And GoGoVan that I just showed you is sort of eating away at their core business, fast shipments. I don't think they're really fast, not judging by their app at least. But you know, this GoGo van, they're like eating away their business little by little in the most lucrative market for FedEx. They want to grow in Asia. But you know, they're not alone. There are a few more other ones here. And these companies are all mobile only. Not just mobile first or mobile ready, but there are many, many more of them doing the exact same thing 1 billion times easier and better than FedEx. And there are a few more as well. Eating away every single part of their business. And you know, if there's any word or any expression I can summarize this with, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Have you heard that, anyone? It's like a little bit of cuts here and there, and you bleed to death in the end. That's what this is. And it's happening everywhere, guys. Now, what do these little ones, like all these like GoGo Van and all these little cool companies here, what do they have in common? And there was a guy here called Tom Goodman who wrote an article on TechCrunch just a few months ago. And he's the senior VP of innovation at a company called Havas Media. And if you look at the article, he said, these small companies are founded in a world of new behaviors. We saw that, right? Like new behaviors on mobile. New technology liberated by the new marketing dynamics. And I love this piece here, like rapid growth unencumbered by the old assets and knowledge from these old giants. Like all the stuff that worked in the past is not working anymore, and they don't give a shit about that. That's why they succeed. And if you look at the big companies like FedEx and maybe like other companies that you're working for currently or your managers or so, it often looks like this. And it's not a joke, guys. It's really true. You know, like, yeah. You know, if you're laughing, I really hope you laugh because you identify with this thing over here. Right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's what they have in common. And you know what? Like I told you in the beginning, if you think of the world as this linear machine, like this deterministic way that sort of came to us like 200 years ago. And I know Germany is like Sweden too, we're very famous for being very efficient. Efficiency is like a key thing here. That works if the world is like a simple little machine. That's not true anymore. This is what the world looks like. And this type of structure, where you have some sort of boss that, you know, 100 years old, they never come out, they never meet the people, they never engage with, you know, if your readers or your viewers. And they have not even got a mobile phone, maybe, sometimes not. That's not good. So this structure is making absolutely no sense. What you should be doing instead is sort of organizing your team. Design an organization that's flat, that's not hierarchical, where you have very agile teams communicating with each other. And that resembles the world today. You're going to be much more successful if you do that. And this has a really nice term, sustained organizational adaptability. Adapt at all times to this. And if you've ever been lucky enough to work in an organization like that, they're characterized by a few things. You're like, it's completely flat, non-hierarchical, purpose-driven. People love going into work. It's creative, it's inclusive. That's what you need to do to be able to deal with the new digital economy and be around in a few years from now. So I'm just going to skip this. Yeah. Let's just get to this thing. So build an organization that looks this way. I can help you about it. Like there's a really good book called Team of Teams if you want to really have a peek at the latest around designing organizations. Come talk to me afterwards if you want to know more, how you actually do that. And you know what Adobe helps companies do with that technology at least, it's still part of this. It allows you guys to create these experiences that you saw GoGo Van have. Create them. You can do them really beautiful and really nice, and you can do it at scale. Everybody in your company can do them. You can manage not just one app, but hundreds of them, right? And you can build them for many types of devices. iOS, Android, Microsoft. You can do it towards customers, like your own customers that are reading and viewing your materials. but also to your own companies, your own employees inside your company. I'm looking at, these guys are like totally young here. And I'm sure you want like not to receive like boring corporate meetings where you get like boring texts and stuff. You don't read that anymore, or even in email. Do it on a mobile phone instead. So internal and external, right? And that's really important because you don't want to attract like shitty people who knows nothing about digital. They will be like, yeah, give me an email. You want somebody who will say, give me a mobile phone, do it there. And and I'm looking at some of you are smiling, which I think is a good sign. You guys will go to any company that offers this, right? Where you have a mobile first, a digital first type of thinking. And just so you know, and I know this is very shameful, I shouldn't do this, but I'm actually hiring. And I want people who care about this stuff. So come and talk to me if you want to. I'd be happy to snatch you away, all right? So build engaging mobile experiences, do that. They're telling me to stop, but do that. Build engaging mobile experience that matters to your customers and your employees. If you do that, I can guarantee you that mobile is the #1 driver for digital transformation. It's going to break and kill all your silos completely. It's going to make your company and those you work for happy. They're going to be green numbers in the end. Integrate mobile into your business strategy, really like to the very, very core, how you think about this. And then if you do, you're going to come out successful. Thank you very much.